The woman was waiting at her gazebo again. This time, she sat on the edge of the low wall surrounding it, hands resting lightly on her lap, and she lifted her eyes as the door opened. But she was not relaxed. Her jaw was tight. There was something pressed and urgent behind her eyes. "Is your friend still asleep?" she asked immediately. The sister exhaled slowly. "There is no one in that cabin," she replied. "It's just me." And she would later think about how reckless that statement was, admitting to a stranger that she was alone in her room. But in that moment, the need to shut down the confusion outweighed her fears. The woman's expression did not shift to bewilderment this time. She looked at the sister for a long moment with something that was almost pity. "She said you'd say that," she said quietly. The chill that crept under the sister's skin was unlike any she'd felt before. She swallowed, then asked carefully, "What does my friend look like?" The description that followed did not match anyone she knew. The woman said she had seen a figure in her 20s, maybe even early 30s, fair-skinned, tall, and dressed in clothing that didn't quite look like she'd fit in. She seemed to be from a different era altogether. The woman went on to describe an outfit that sounded like a traditional Balinese or Javanese ceremonial costume. Long flowing robes, intricate patterns, and an abundance of accessories covering the wrists, hips, and head. It was the sort of ensemble you might see on a woman from a long-gone era, dressed for a special occasion. The friend, according to her, moved with unusual grace. The posture was straight, her gestures controlled, her speech soft and gentle. Speaking to her felt, as the woman put it, like talking to royalty. The sister asked if she looked anything like herself, or like her sister-in-law. "No," the woman said, "not like either of you. But she knows you. She knows you very well." The sister went very still. The two of them walked toward the lobby together, the stranger still speaking, her voice quieter now. She said the figure had seemed sad lately, as though something was ending, as though, after a very long time, she had decided this was her last chance to be seen. At the front desk, the sister described the friend to the staff. The workers exchanged glances. The silence before anyone spoke was too long. The older woman behind the counter set down what she was doing. "What did you say she was wearing?" The sister repeated the description. The older woman looked at her colleague. Her colleague looked at the floor. "She used to wander around here," the older woman said, in Malay, her voice low. "With the pandemic, fewer people came. Fewer people disturbed things." She stopped. She seemed to be choosing her next words carefully. "Last time someone saw her clearly, that was 2015, a couple from Kuala Lumpur." After a moment of hesitation, she said, "And something bad happened to them." "What happened?" the sister asked. The woman behind the counter didn't answer directly. "The husband went home alone," she said. "He said his wife had wanted to stay longer. He said she told him to go ahead, that she would follow. She didn't follow. They searched for 3 days." The sister heard the words. The white woman beside her was still waiting for a translation, still looking back and forth between them with an expectant smile. The staff tried to explain gently to the white woman, but to a foreigner, it was still confusing. They said that they believed the entity was an Orang Bunian. Orang Bunian are not conventional ghosts. They are not the spirit of dead humans or malevolent spirits. They are beings who live parallel to humans, in hidden places, forests, caves, mountains, and sometimes in old or quiet parts of towns. And locals very much believed in these beings. They're often described as beautiful, elegantly dressed, with impeccable manners they usually keep to themselves. But sometimes their world and ours grow thin in the same place. And when an Orang Bunian becomes drawn to a person, for reasons no elder has ever fully explained, some quality of the person, some openness in them, They do not announce themselves as what they are. They simply appear. They are charming, they are warm. They make you feel, without quite knowing why, that you have known them for a very long time. And that is where it becomes dangerous, because the Orang Bunian do not take people by force. That's not how it works. What they do is quieter and far more difficult to resist. They make you want to stay. They make their world seem closer and warmer than your own. People who have been found wandering deep in the forests or on remote stretches of coast often say they were simply following someone. A friend, they say, confused and sometimes barely coherent when found. Someone they knew, someone who had asked them to come along, and they had simply said yes. Some are found, some are not. The ones who are not, the old stories say, they are still there, somewhere on the other side of that thin place, in a world that looks almost exactly like this one. Once she knows you have named her, the older staff member said, she will not return to the tree line. Her eyes moved to the sister. The white woman seemed unsettled now. The wistfulness was gone. What do you mean? That's nonsense. I was going to invite her to breakfast, she said. Before I leave today, I told her I would. Do not engage. Never, said the staff member simply. The sister walked back to her cabin with the iron in her hand and a weight on her chest that had nothing to do with the heat. She did not look toward the beach. She did not look at the tree line. When she opened the door to her cabin, the room was in shadow. The curtains were drawn, and she was certain she had left them open. They checked out within the hour. That night, back in their own home, the sister sat at her desk and tried to write it all down while it was still fresh. She opened a document. She stared at it for a long time. She closed it without typing a word. She didn't know how to write down the thing that was actually bothering her. Not the photo, not even the staff member's voice dropping to almost nothing when she spoke about 2015. What bothered her was the white woman's face when she said it. I told her I would. She had said it the way you say something you mean, the way you say something to a person you like, about a person you like. There had been warmth in it, anticipation even. She had been genuinely looking forward to breakfast. Her sister's brother called just past 11. She could hear it in his voice before he said a word. Nadia woke up, he said. She said there was a woman in the room, standing at the foot of the bed, dressed like, she said, like someone from an old painting. She then smiled at Nadia and said, very clearly, is your friend still asleep? The line was quiet for a long time. What do we do? Said her brother. The sister looked out her window at the city going about its ordinary late-night business. Cars, insects, a television in the flat upstairs. Nothing, she said. We don't talk about it. We just leave it alone. 3 weeks later, she was at her desk on a slow afternoon and found herself, almost without deciding to, typing the name of the resort into a search engine. She wasn't sure what she was looking for. A review maybe. A photo of the beach that looked ordinary in daylight. What she found instead was a thread on a travel forum, posted 8 days after they had checked out. A man in the Netherlands was asking if anyone had seen his wife. She had been traveling alone, a holiday she had taken for herself after a difficult year. Last contact was a voice note sent from Langkawi, the morning of her checkout day. She had sounded happy, he said. She had said she was going to have breakfast with a friend she had made at the resort before catching the ferry. And she had not caught the ferry. She had not come home. The thread had 11 replies. Most of them were sympathy. One of them was from someone suggesting she had probably just decided to extend her stay and forgotten to call. Another linked to a local news article in Malay that the sister would not read in full, but the headline said something about a tourist reported missing. Search is ongoing, no signs of foul play. The thread ended there. No update, no resolution. The last reply was 3 days old. The sister sat for a very long time without moving. She thought about the woman sitting on the gazebo wall, hands folded in her lap, her face open and unhurried. She thought about the way she had looked back toward the beach when the staff were trying to explain. Still expecting, the sister realized now, to see her friend come walking up the path. Still believing completely in someone who had never existed. She thought about what the staff member had said. Once she knows you have named her, she will not return to the tree line. The white woman had not named her. She had done something worse. She had trusted her. She had made her a promise and fully intended to keep it. And something that had existed in the hidden places of that island for longer than either of them had been alive had recognized that and decided it was enough. The sister closed the tab. She has not searched for the resort since. She has not looked at the photos from the trip. She does not talk about it, and neither does her brother. And his wife sleeps through the night now, mostly. But sometimes she wonders about the white woman, whether she was ever found. Whether she had, in some way the sister cannot bring herself to imagine, said yes. She will never know. And that's the end of today's story. What do you think happened to that woman? Do you think the Orang Bunian really took her to the other side of the world? We would never know. Anyway, if you're familiar with Orang Bunian folklore or have your own stories about encounters like this, I would genuinely love to hear them. And if you're planning a trip to Langkawi, well, enjoy the beach. Just maybe don't make any promises to strangers. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.